And then everybody, this is Tess. Tess directed my Drybar special.
Oh, you're
And
blaming her, Mark? You're blaming her.
Sad.
wait until you see it. You'll actually go, hey, Mark might be a good comic. I must not have seen him lately.
I'll be like, Tess is a miracle worker.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. I'm your host, Mark Riccadonna. With me, as always,
Richie Byrne.
we got something crazy today. Because
Yeah.
we also have our new co-host, who's also joining the gang, Ashley Gutermuth.
Hi, Ashley. Woo!
Hello. How you doing?
So Ashley's used to doing anything online and having 1 million views. And so now she gets to come with us and have dozens of views.
Nice
So-
change. Thanks for
Wait.
having me.
What you're witnessing here is the ruination of Ashley's career.
Finally.
But we're so excited to have Ashley join us. And then we also have a special guest, and I'm very excited. For anybody who watches, I talked about the Drybar special coming out. It's out now, of course. Go to Drybar Comedy and use promo code Mark Riccadonna. But we have our director on that directed my... How many have you directed?
I should probably know this, but I don't because it's like a
A
lot.
huge number.
Do you have a
It's too
ballpark?
many.
Ballpark.
Over 30. I can say
Okay.
over 30.
Wow.
You
Wow.
dealt with over 30 comedians
Wow.
Yeah.
who were in probably prime ego because they're filming a special, and you
Prime ego.
and you're still smiling. That's
You
what
know,
makes you so wonderful.
Might as well, right? If you're not smiling, that's a bummer. But I'm still young. I still got time to stop smiling. But hopefully I never stop.
We still have time to destroy you emotionally.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. The jade meter, ranges from
Keep
jaded. It just
directing
changes.
comics. See how long this goes.
It's funny, and I feel like it's part a coincidence. Do you guys watch the show on HBO Max, Hacks?
I've only seen a little bit of it, but not much.
No.
I
Is
do.
that
I've watched. I think it's 2 seasons so far, right? Or 2 or 3
Yeah.
seasons? Yeah.
What
yeah.
is it?
I like.
So Jean Smart is
Oh.
basically Carol. She's
Okay.
Carol Montgomery.
Yeah.
She's a Vegas star who's just kicking ass.
Carol. I love it.
The audience loves her, and she's killing it. And then she gets a writer who's a younger comic who's kind of the battle of young versus old, but it's also 2 female comics, so you're already fighting an uphill battle. And now they're fighting with each other. There's so much going on in the show. It's so good.
It's like
But
you
I
and
got
me,
so-
Mark.
Right? It is. It's really you and I. It's the story of us in wigs.
Oh
And
yeah, that she's got this big house and she's trying to make her more relevant. And
Yeah.
the young person comes in and they kind of like have a battle. That's so funny that you see her as Carol.
well, she's such a badass. Like
Yeah,
she's
I
a
love Carol.
total badass. I love it.
Mm.
And if Carol stayed in Vegas, that would have been her. But so I'm watching it last night, and I'm catching up on it. And I knew you were coming on today, and they're gonna go shoot Jean Smart's character's special.
Oh,
And so they go to find her director who filmed her Oxygen special, and it was Susie Essman.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I love Susie Essman. I forgot about that part. It's so great.
It's
It's
so
so great.
good.
It's
And
so
I'm
good.
just sitting there, I'm like, and the fact that it was even in like the woke LA, and they brought her up and they're like to direct the thing, and they're like, that's a name we haven't heard in a while. We got this new director. Like they wanted to give it to this like 18-year-old kid. And I just love that show. But I was like, it's so funny. We're having you on today. And last night, as I'm trying to catch up on the show, they're talking about a comedy special and giving the female director a hard time.
Yep. Some things never change, right? It is what it is. It's funny.
How did you get this job? How did this come about? Tell us your background.
Yeah, so my background has mostly been in like producing and production management, and directing Drybar basically happened fall of 2021. I'd left my previous like full-time job at video broadcasting, where I'd done a lot of TV, just everything from like sketch comedy to like live music performances and everything in between, to like marketing, like all kinds of stuff. And a local production company that I work with a lot called Mystery Box was hired by Drybar Comedy to kind of revamp what Drybar had been doing and just kind of clean up the process. And so they asked me to come on as a director. And it kind of has been that ever since. We just kind of created a really great team of camera ops and technical directors, a good little lighting team, and made it work within Drybar space. The kind of a funky space just because it's kind of been retrofitted for what they're doing. But it's really fun to work in. And the people at Drybar are lovely. And it's always just a pleasure to meet all kinds of different types of comics from all over. And Mark was like a special one. That was a really awesome night for all of us. We had a really good time.
I heard he almost didn't make it.
Yeah. I just barely learned that, and I was like, "What?" I had no.
You had no idea?
I had no idea.
Oh my God!
I had no idea.
Wow.
All I heard was, "Oh, we have a comic running late," and it's not uncommon to people for them to run late because it's at a funky time of the day, and we have some pre-tape stuff that we get knocked out before the actual audience and live taping happens. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, we're fine." Yeah. It was just another day for me, and obviously not another day for Mark.
Tell the story, Mark.
I had no idea. It's an amazing story.
So I actually didn't tell you, Tess, because I was talking with Maureen, and I figured let it be her problem. You have enough on your plate, so like I didn't need to like inundate you in your booth. So I tried not to fill you in on what happened. I just tried to show up and be like, "I'm here. I made it." I did a corporate date in Plano, Texas, the night before, but it was already contracted. So like I couldn't not do it. And I had a whole day to travel from Plano to Utah. So I figured that shouldn't be a problem. And I had the last flight out of the night to fly to Salt Lake City. But then what ended up happening was we had the craziest rainstorm hit Plano, Texas, where they actually had to cancel the flights. So everybody was scrambling. They were going to put you in a hotel, but if the flight was so many hours, you didn't get a hotel. So I ended up sleeping in the terminal, hoping to get that first flight out in the morning. And there were two options. One was get the flight and I make it to the taping. The other was if I get this flight, I'm going to make it just in time to get a cab and go straight there.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
So I missed the first flight because it's full. I go to the second one. They go, you can be on standby. So I go and I'm letting the agent who booked it know. I'm letting Maureen, the on-site contact, know. And I'm like, look, I'm either going to just get there or I'm not making it. I don't know what you guys want to do. I understand. And I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, finally, I get a break and this happens. Like wait for a comic to always make it about them. So I get to the thing, and I was telling the lady that does the announcements at the gate just the story. I wasn't like yelling or complaining or whatever. I go, it's just my luck. I got a comedy special. It's like my big break, and of course this rainstorm comes through just to make it difficult. And she goes, well, listen, you're on standby. We'll call it right before we board. And they start boarding, and I didn't get called. So I grab my suitcase and I start to walk out of the terminal, and I hear, Mark Riccadonna, please come to the gate. So I come running over, and they go, somebody heard, they wanted to stay anonymous, heard your story, and gave their seat up for you.
Oh, wow. How sweet.
Amazing.
Oh,
I
my
get
God.
the flight. We get there. I get an Uber, and I'm in the Uber with this guy, and the guy was sweet as could be. And he kept, and usually I can't wait to talk about food, but he's sitting there talking about all the different hamburger places to go. And he's really going in details about these hamburger places to go eat. Meanwhile, like, I want to be there with him and talk to him about these hamburgers, but in reality, I'm just like, just drive.
Focus.
I wonder why they wanted to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
You know, like, I would think that's a cool, you know, they, not that they need, but like, especially you're a comic, they, you know, you might want to contact them and say, hey, you know, I can get you tickets to a show, or I don't know. That's, you know, it's weird. Yeah.
I mean, it's some people, it's crazy, but just wanted to do something nice, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird.
Funny.
That's weird to
That's
me. I never want to do anything nice.
I think that they were a murderer and they were just trying to like help their soul. Yeah. Oh my God. What that's stressful. Now I'm
A
stressed.
little bit stressful.
Yeah. So I guess the moral to the story is you should have canceled the gig the night before and just been a professional and shown up.
Professional. Be a professional, Mark.
So has anyone ever missed a show? Has that happened?
Yeah, I mean, folks usually it's sickness related or like
do you do
how many stuff.
Do you do the same audience for each comic, or do you switch them out? Or
no, we have, so there are two there's like an earlier show and a later show, and
so it's just two shows,
two different two shows.
Okay.
Yeah. three comics a night and a warm up, just there to, you know, do the warm up job.
I don't know anything about warm up.
No. That's what Richie does.
I did that for 12.
Nice.
I was a warm up for 12 years. Yeah.
It's a hard job.
It's a very hard job.
I've seen good warm ups and I've seen not so good warm ups, and I've given
Richie's
notes to
not
people.
So good one.
I'm both. I've been both. No, I've been both. I've been, yeah. I've done it a long time, and I try and explain to comics. You know, you're not really a comic now. You're a cheerleader. You know, you the first job for you is to focus on the show, not you. And I think a lot of guys don't realize that. They think, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do my act. I'm like, you can do your act, but there's certain criteria you have to fill as a warm-up act. And the only way to learn how to do that is to do it. And you know, it's kind of a catch-22, you know. There's no school for warm-up, you know. It's an interesting dynamic. And just because you're a good comic doesn't mean you're a good warm-up. And just because you're a good warm-up doesn't mean you're a good comic. It's about personality. You know, things like that. So it's an interesting job, and I think not because I do it. I think I think a lot of producers and directors don't get how important it is. It's really important. That crowd has to be where they have to be. It's so important on any show.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of warm ups like outside of just the stand up scene, like warming up crowds for like live music performances and stuff like that, like sketch comedy, and like to everything you said, Richie. There's some people who just go out to like do their stuff, like their shtick, and it's like, no, this crowd doesn't want that. They're here for this. They want stuff related to like the brand of the show that they're coming to, not you can do a funny improv game, but like people in this crowd don't know what that means. They're here for this. So it's been really interesting just to see the crowds like just either like dig their heels in and not give the warm up what they want, and then in the end, like it's just interesting dynamics to see play out. But yeah.
I'll tell you a great story. I was first. I did warm up for the Miss America pageant for 3 years, and the first year I walked in, and it's so different. This in Jersey, you know, in Atlantic City. It's such a big venue, and I was so nervous. I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm so used to dealing with the stage manager. That's what you do. The stage manager is your right hand, you know, and you should be their left if you can. But in this situation, the stage manager's so busy with so many other things that, so I'm talking to people and I didn't know, because it was a live show, I was really nervous about going out in between and getting caught on camera so I just wanted to ask him, you know, if he could give me what he wanted from me in between. And the whole day, I had to get there early, and the whole day I'm going, I just need 2 minutes with the stage manager. And they were like, we're trying to get him. Finally he comes into the green room and he's pissed. And he's like, yeah, I have a million things going on. I really don't have time for you. What do you need? And I go, no, I'm sorry, man. I go, I'm trying to find out. He goes, listen, I want you to go out there in the beginning. I want you to do your time. I want you to get them riled up. And that's it. I don't want you on my stage for the rest of the show. And I go, dude, you don't have to say another word to me. I am not one of these guys who needs stage time. And after that, every year I did it, he loved me because I never gave him a hard time about anything. I was like, that was like,
Yeah.
that was it. I went out in 10 minutes and I was done, and I got a really nice paycheck for that. I was more than happy with it.
Wanted to know the parameters. That's totally
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's always so important to check in with the people who are in charge, because if you don't, it never bodes well.
Right.
It's
And
never a good
I can't
thing.
talk to even a producer. A producer doesn't understand what I'm talking about. Only the stage manager, or even a director in that situation would only the stage manager is the only person I could get the right answer from,
100%.
So that was funny. So you you do 2 a night, you said, when you do these?
Yeah, so it's
and it's
3
the
comics
same
a
audience.
night, 2 performances. Yeah. So
Okay.
2 audiences, 3 comics a night. And so it's basically we record up to 6 in a weekend. Just depending on
2 audiences, 3 comics. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So the comics perform twice. The same 3 comics perform twice.
Right.
We do Friday night, Saturday night, and then across both nights we've recorded up to 6 comics, depending on this. Yeah.
So Tess, if you said that there's been people that have called out for being sick, if comedians wait outside the Drybar stage, and then they can just hop in case, just like
I wish that was a thing. That'd be so fun.
What do you do if they call out?
Either we had a, I can't remember his name, Brad Upton, I think he performed. He's yeah. Well, he came, he performed, and there was supposed to be a 3rd comic that night, but he, since he's a freaking legend, he did a longer set, which was great because we were able to give him enough time. He didn't have to feel rushed. Like the audience was like, both audiences were super warm and hot and like ready for it. That worked out. And then another time we basically were like, a warm-up comic, do you want to just like try out some of your stuff tonight? And so that warm-up comic, Alex, he got to try out some stuff, and yeah, we've been able to just kind of figure it out, or there's just been 2, but I think with that night we had Brad Upton, he just had a longer set, so it was totally fine. Like, no one was mad, and we got really great stuff. So it's worked out.
How many cameras is it?
We have 6 cameras, 5 are operated. So we got 5 camera ops, and then 1 that's just static the whole time.
How big's the audience?
We've had like up to like I think we can fit like up to 150 in that room. But usually it's like about 175, 100 a night. Some nights are a little sparser, and we're like, what do we do? But we make it work, and the comics are usually really great, and they get what they need, and we're able to give them a really, really great end product. So yeah,
it always looks amazing.
It was, and to give Tess full props, we've had, Provenza was on, and he said one of the hardest things in the world to do is to get comics to feel like there aren't cameras on them, because they're different with cameras on and with no cameras. And I got to say, Tess ran a ship that it felt like you were just doing a awesome theater show. And you never felt, other than the fact that you have to sit in makeup and do that kind of stuff, and somebody looks at your clothes and goes, okay, yeah, hold on, let's touch up your hair. other than that kind of thing, it was like just another gig with a really great crowd. Never felt like there was a camera in your face or, there was like showbiz going on. It just felt like a live show, and it was so awesome. And I feel like at the end of the night, it was like when we were all hugging and saying, goodbyes. It was like, holy crap! I went up and sat in your booth with you, sat in the back of the
Yeah.
booth just to watch how you guys were all doing everything, because from stage you have no clue that all this stuff's going on. Like the video village, I guess you call it, was like
Yeah.
a beehive of just activity. But the performers had no idea that all this was going on. So it was like she ran a perfect ship. It was awesome.
Well, thanks. I mean, it also comes down to the people you bring along with you. That like I love knowing who I'm working with, and that just helps me set the right tone so people don't get in the way of the performers, or like bring their stuff. Like they can, like you can have a bad day and still come to work, but I want to make sure that people know how to like respect the space and everyone else's time, so that it just goes smoothly. And if people have a question, always ask. If there's a problem, we'll solve it. But just be smart and aware of everyone else too. And it was better. It was a better time.
Do you get nervous?
That's awesome.
Has any comedians ever broken you?
There was one guy he had a very punchable demeanor he made me angry for most of the night. But
was it Buddy Fitzpatrick by any chance? Buddy Fitzpatrick?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't him. I haven't had the honor. I'll
Did you
look for him.
really?
I'll let you guys know if he shows up. No.
Oh, you haven't. You didn't do Buddy's show.
No.
Did you direct Buddy? Buddy did the show. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I'll have to see. I'll have to see which, because I missed a couple nights. Season 9. I didn't see his name pop up this season. I missed a couple
it would have
weekends
been
this
a
season
couple
just
years
to
ago.
stuff. But I'll have to check that. No, I don't think I got to meet Buddy. But
Okay.
yeah.
No, Buddy's one of the nicest guys.
Yeah, he's one you couldn't possibly
Okay.
meet a nicer human being. Like he's so nice, I don't know how he's a comic. But that's a good question though. Like, I guess what I said. Do you get it when you guys do this? Like for us as performers, we're in front of the crowd, whatever, blah blah blah. But you're still dealing with it's a show. You're dealing with a show. It's your show. Do you get nervous before a show, or do you not even think about that? Do you?
I mean, what the nerves usually come if audience numbers are lower than I want them to be, just that we can get a good crowd for the comic. And I don't have much control over that. Just because Drybar and Angel Studios handle all of those really intricate details. That's where I get a little worried. And then the way I prep is like I look up the comics, I see what they've done, I see their work as much as I can, whatever's available, and I can kind of figure out what I can't look into a crystal ball or anything, but I can kind of perceive what kind of energy they'll be bringing, that if they do have questions for me about audience or the brand or that kind of a thing that I can't answer, it's nice to have the Drybar brand there because they can usually fill in those gaps. But if it's like easy things like what's the audience is like, what do you recommend, and comics rarely ask me these questions. It's like been like maybe 2 people have asked me like, oh, should I try this joke? And I say, yeah. I mean, like I always say try whatever because it's fun. But sometimes I'm wrong. I get it wrong sometimes, but that's why we're lucky to have 2 chances, that if something isn't quite hitting the way we all want it to, we can kind of talk after the first show, give each other notes, and kind of go from there. So, but yeah, it's usually crowd is where where my nerves are. If there's a person working that night that like isn't the strongest camera operator, that gets me a little worried. But because we have so many angles, we're always able to just cut around.
That was my next question. That's exactly.
Anything. So yeah. We have enough stop gaps that if something isn't working, I can say, go to another audience member because that person's chewing gum. I don't want to see that,
Right.
Stuff like that. So,
right. And then you just edit it in later, right? You just fix that in post, as they say.
Yes, post. Yeah.
But when I looked at your IMDb, you've done a lot of live performances, and your IMDb doesn't even have like a billion dry
I
bars.
know. I
But
know. I talked to a buddy of mine. I was like, "Are you guys gonna put on IMDb?" And they're like, "Well, we have it on this other database." I'm like, "Yeah, but people don't look at that other one.
Yeah.
Put it on IMDb." So I'll
but
text him after this.
you do a
But
lot of live performances. Do you feel like the prep for a live show compared to a film or where you're telling a story? I mean, and as a director, I know you said you like producing a lot. You find the
yeah,
roles different depending on what you're doing?
for sure. I feel like with producing, you basically have to have like an eagle eye view as to like everything that's happening. So like you have to know that your stage manager is going to have time to talk to the warm up and talk to like even like the the smaller folks that are part of the bigger picture so that everything gets communicated and goes down the line. When I was doing Studio C as a line producer, I was able to have enough of a support system that like we proved how good we were that the marketing team was like, we want to take this show to New York, and we were like, what? Okay. So we had like one night at the Hammerstein Ballroom in Midtown with Kenan Thompson, and it was huge. It was like probably one of the biggest, I think the biggest show I've ever done as a producer.
Yeah, right.
And so that was like crazy, but it was bigger, but I just had a different type of support system. I had like the venue support staff, and I had my team coming up from Provo at BYU. And so it was just like me just finding the right way to bring us all together and like give the crowd a good show. We didn't have a lot of time to prep for that because we still were working on our like principal shows, like our principal photography for this season, and then just like tagged it on at like the end.
And that
But
was
for
a
the
sketch show, right?
That was a sketch
Studio
show
C.
called Studio C. Yeah. So to answer your question, I understand the producer side that like coming in as a director on like these, more intimate dry bar settings, it helps me kind of, I don't have to check off as many boxes. I can kind of focus in on one thing. But I love producing because I just love to know who everybody is, what everyone's doing, and how I can like support them and in turn support me so we can like just have a really great night and a good day, whether it's a live show or just a commercial, movie, TV, whatever. So yeah, I just like getting to know really great people and then working with them as often as I can. So yeah.
Is there a certain genre you like to do more? Music, comedy? Which one do you like more?
I mean, I love comedy. Comedy's just fun. I feel like people who respect comedy the right way are the best ones to work with. There's some people who think they're comedians and they're not, and that's just
there's
the
a
way of the
lot.
world.
I'm sitting next to one.
I was going to say, I'll see myself out.
But I mean, like yeah, I mean, I say that in a safe space, because there's some people who think like, oh, I'm a comedic writer and I'm going to write something for a brand, and then it doesn't fit the brand at all. But there are some people who are comedic writers and can write for the brand, and you can see it just fits better and it makes more sense, and it makes you want to commit to that brand or commit to whatever that person is selling, whether it's a stand-up or like a commercial or a funny joke in like a podcast or TV show or anything, right? So it's just interesting to kind of see what works and to like just what you gravitate toward. But I really love comedy. I do love a really great drama. Like I love that we're getting dramatic TV shows that also just have a realness to them, and in that reality, comedy kind of just bubbles to the top. Like I feel like season 2 of The White Lotus was really great in the way it balanced like these terrible people, but there can still be parts that you laugh at, and there can still be parts that you're like destroyed by the terribleness of wealth and stuff. So that like Mike White is a genius, and we all can say that, or we don't, but I think he is. So yeah, it's just interesting to see these really talented writers get opportunities to just write amazing, just everything. That's great. But yeah, again, I love comedy, but I basically watch everything. I don't love horror, but I love comedy. So
What's everybody watching right now?
Yeah.
Anybody watching anything good?
No. I'm not. It's funny because you know what I did watch, and I'm waiting. I can't wait for season 2. was The Lazarus Project, which is from England. Have you seen that?
Oh, I just heard about this. One of my favorite actors is in that, and I really want to check it out.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, that's good to know.
It is so good. And I think they've already done 3 seasons in England, but they're only sending them over here.
They
like
just take their time.
Yeah. It is so good. And you literally, there's a few where you go, I got to watch that again because I have no idea what just happened. It's one of those, because I love things like that. I was a big X-Files guy and, Fringe. I don't know if you guys ever watched Fringe. That was a great show. But anyway, watch The Lazarus Project. Very good.
There you go. Thumbs up. I just finished Newhart, so I'm catching up.
Nice.
The first one or the second one?
The one where he had the navigator pilot that lived across the hall, and
that's the first one. Yeah,
first one.
That's Bill Daly, by the way.
Bill Daly. Yeah, I love Newhart. I like Bob Newhart in general.
It's really weird. I was talking with a friend last night. There's a documentary out about him and Rickles. On Netflix. And I can't wait to see. My friend was telling me about it, and it's about because they were just best huge friends. Yeah, and we were trying to figure out if Newhart was still alive, and I looked it up, and he is. He's still alive. Yeah.
One day I was at my buddy has a bar on 55th and 8th. It's called Barcelona Bar, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm on the phone with my dad, and I'm waiting for my buddy John to get off work. And as I'm sitting there, I turn and I'm right in front of the glass, looking out on the sidewalk. And I'm on the phone and I'm talking to my dad, and I turn and there's this older guy doing this right into the glass where I turned, and it scared the crap out of me. My dad goes, "What happened?" I go, "Some old guy that looks just like Bob Newhart was just staring into the window." And then John, my buddy, comes around the bar and he said, "Yeah, he lives in the neighborhood. We see him walk around every once in a while."
Oh, man.
What's Bob Newhart?
You got spooked by Bob Newhart.
That's when you guys brought up Bob Newhart, because I watched Elf on Saturday with a bunch of family members, and he's the greatest Papa Elf in the world.
Oh, yeah, he's so great.
And Ed Asner's Santa Claus is probably the best Santa Claus ever. He's so good. Oh, that movie's so great.
It is great. It really is a great movie.
It's such a good movie. It's so good.
Jon Favreau directed that. So,
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah,
and Will Ferrell's amazing. Yeah. It's crazy. And I was like, this movie can't be 20 years old, but it is. So
it's 20 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
They released it in Europe to commemorate the 20th anniversary.
So we saw on the big screen. It was great. It was awesome.
It's funny, too, that we're having a Bob Newhart conversation. When Lisa Lampanelli was on the show, I said something to her, and she goes, "That's why I always loved Don Rickles so much, is because on the exterior, he was the tough guy. But if you listen to their biographies, apparently Newhart was the jerk." And I think that is coming from Rickles. So it's, his version of a jerk is...
I haven't seen the show, but my friend who saw it told me that Newhart tells a story about the four, because the four of them were close. It was Newhart and Rickles and their wives. Their wives were incredibly close, and they went to vacations and everything. And they were going to go to dinner one night, and they were with Sinatra, and Sinatra's like, "Where are you going?" They said, "Oh, we're going to this restaurant." He goes, "Oh, I love that restaurant. I'll go with you." And they didn't want Sinatra to go because it was just going to be the four of them. And apparently Rickles turned to Newhart and said, "How big are we in the business when we're trying to blow off Frank Sinatra?"
I love it.
That's so great.
It's cool. Newhart, he was like an accountant, and then he started writing for radio, and then they were like, "Hey, let's put it on a record."
Yeah, he was a genius. God, he was funny. Probably still is.
He was so subtle. Everything was so subtle.
He was so the opposite of Rickles. That's why it's such a great friendship. They were so different, in humor and everything, like you and me, Mark.
Exactly. I'm funny. You're here.
But what I like about the Newhart show is it's every other line there's a joke, and you know that it's not like a serious. They even they talk about how they're not having kids or all these different things. And they do tackle some definitely issues that are big for the time, but there's some silly thing that then happens. And I love that. Like
I can't believe we're discussing Newhart. I did not expect to
We're a very progressive podcast. Keeping up with the times.
What can I say?
I just finished Hacks, and it suggested this other show called The Other Two.
The Other Two is really funny. Yeah.
I watched the first 2 episodes and I was crying laughing. Yeah. Basically, there's a kid that's like Justin Bieber who just gets plucked in the star, and becomes a overnight sensation, but he has 2 older siblings that are in show business who never got anything. And so now all of a sudden their little brother, who they love, is crushing it. And they have to kind of just sit and take it. They're only getting recognized because of their younger brother, who's never done anything in showbiz except the viral video that, launched a music career.
Gee, that doesn't sound familiar in the comedy business at all, Mark.
Yeah, that was great.
It's pretty good.
That cast is great. It's got Molly Shannon, Ken Marino. I think Wanda Sykes shows up at some point. Yeah, it's well done.
Wanda Sykes always shows up at some point. Have you
I know,
noticed
and
that?
she's always great. Yeah, and I love when she shows up. It's a pleasure every time.
We used to do open mics together, and she showed up at some point in 1992. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Go. So how many days? So you shoot one weekend at a point. That's all you do. You'll do a weekend, and do you direct all of the shows in that weekend, and then somebody else comes in for another weekend? How does that work?
Yeah, so it kind of just depends on what kind of like the quantity of specials like Drybar and Angel Studios feel like they need for that run. Mm-hmm. This last run we did in October was just 4 weekends. So just like roughly 20, I think that's 24.
And where do you live?
I live in Utah, so I live.
Oh, you
really
are in
close
Utah. Okay.
Yeah, I am in Utah, so I live really close to where the action is happening. As far as Drybar goes, it's just very convenient and also a good time that I always look forward to doing them. But to answer your question, Richie, it just depends on the quantity of specials that like Angel and Drybar feel like they need for their run of comedians. Mm-hmm. That like the first season I came on, I think it was season 9. We had like 10 weekends, so that's why I say I know I've done over 30, because that was like 60 comics across.
Wow.
From like we started at like right after Labor Day and went up to like I think the first weekend in November, and I think I only missed like 3 or 4 of those nights. And then after that, I basically consistently been at all the other runs of the season. So, and I think what's been so nice is a lot of us were like, I mean, I knew how live productions work, and we had some folks who did too, but it's fun to see just the crew grow as well, that like we're just getting better and better at what we're doing. Our camera operators are more comfortable. They're like, I can tell them to like be a little bit riskier with like with the way they're capturing stuff, and like it's just been really cool just to see everyone just get better at what they love doing. And
yeah, you guys are almost good enough where I'm going to say, okay, I'll do it now.
When you get Richie Byrne on, it's nothing but uphill.
I actually, at least 20 people have given me names of people to call to do it, and I've done absolutely nothing. I haven't called anyone.
It's that go get them attitude, Richie, that really makes you.
And I really want to do it. I actually have friends in Utah. I'm good friends with the people who own USANA.
Okay, cool.
And
That's
because
great.
I worked for the Dr. Oz show for 12 years, and USANA was
Oh, nice.
they were a huge sponsor, and they wonderful people. I did
Mm-hmm.
a charity event in New York, and they backed it. They gave me the money to do it. So I've been meaning, I go, I really got to do Drybar. I'm like really close with the USANA people. I got to get out there, and I just never seem to do it. But if I do it, I'm requesting, I want you as my director.
There you go, Tess.
I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah, it's fun. It really is like it's just this kind of it. I've lived in Utah for a while. I moved here when I was a kid because I grew up in Westchester County in New York, and then my family moved out here just due to opportunities that my dad had teaching at BYU.
Okay.
And I know like a lot of people in the area, and it's interesting because I haven't seen anyone that I know personally ever go to Drybar. And there are a lot of people that live in Utah and Utah County that it just is cool to see that there's like something for everyone here.
Mhm.
And it's cool to see like I figured out like the regulars, like there was a couple that would always come to the late Saturday night show, and I'd be like, oh, they're back. That's so great. I'm so glad that like they keep coming, and it's fun to see like families.
You know who's not happy about
like,
that? The warm-up guy. The warm-up guy. When you look out in the audience and you see the same faces, you go, no, really? I don't know I already did everything.
Yeah. I definitely feel for them. Like, oh, well, they're gonna hear it for the third time, but hey, they like what they're coming to. So that they made their choice. As long as they laugh, as long as they keep laughing, I'm fine. I'm fine with this. So
we went to a taping of the Dr. Oz show, and we're hanging out with Richie, and everything's like going great. And then they also file everybody in the sit, and they saved our seats so we could go in because we were backstage hanging with Richie. And right as we walk in and I'm with Richie, I just hear like there's like a section, and they're all like, "Hi, Richie."
Yeah, they're all, Richie.
You're like, "Hi, girls."
That's
amazing.
That's true. And what was I going to say about that? I forget. It just went out of my head.
Section.
Yeah, like it's just so. Oh, I know what I was going to say. You'll like this, Tess. The cameramen would come up to me. I mean, we worked together for like 10 years, and they're like, "Can you please do something new?" And meanwhile, like I would do things new, but they wouldn't notice. And by the time I did something new, it get incorporated in, and there was no way to show them the older days because I didn't have any.
Right.
But one day I did a joke, and it was just off the top of my head. And this guy Tony, this cameraman Tony would always like give me crap about it. So I actually said, hey Tony, that was new. Like I go, that was new, Tony. And I said to the audience, the cameramen are always giving me a hard time because I don't do enough new stuff. I go, because they're always coming up with new ways to shoot, new angles. That's always so original. And they go, we never thought of that. That's a good point. We never.
Yeah, give me a wider angle camera up. Come on.
Richie had such a good rapport with Oz and with the stage manager. They would do these things where they would just start making fun of each other.
Yeah, I used to kill Oz.
And they used to just go back and forth making fun of each other and arguing. And one lady that knew I was there with Richie, but she wasn't one of the regulars, turns and hits me and goes, "Your friend's not going to have a job tomorrow."
Did you ever fake a heart attack, see if he would help you?
The good thing with Richie is he doesn't have to fake
it. Was
do a minute.
What do you mean fake?
I love being on sets. I feel like there's like a definite different energy. And for anybody watching who never got a chance to be at a live set, it's like there's such an energy to it, and there's a really like it's so weird because even though it was like with the comedy specials and different specials that I've been to, it's like all about whoever's on stage or whoever's the show is, whoever's show it is. But there's just a real sense of family and camaraderie, and it's like everybody just kind of comes together. Do you guys, since you've been on set so often, feel that craziness and I don't know, chaos, you're comfortable in it? Or do you feel like every single time it's like, oh, let's see if it comes together?
I think for me, I feel comfortable, but I also, my brain is always what ifing. Like I always have like a backup plan, hopefully in case stuff goes awry. So like I'm trying to learn to just enjoy the chaos and just like swim around in it rather than like, you know,
Freak
you
out.
know, freak out, right? So
Hmm.
like people I've gotten feedback from folks where they like to work with me because I'm not trying to like middle manage or get in the way of like everything that everyone is doing. Because if I'm going to hire you, I'm hiring you to like come through and be pleasant and do your job. That if you're not doing either or both of those things, we're going to have a problem. But yeah, it is chaotic, but I feel like kind of back to what I said earlier, if you're hiring people that you enjoy and trust, you can just have fun in the chaos and like, start making fun of Dr. Oz and people are like, oh no, that person's in trouble. And it's like, no, actually they're like best friends. It's gonna be fine. Like don't worry about it. Like it's all good.
It's
Um
true.
and
It's
like,
true.
so but yeah, it can be chaotic. But there have been times where I'm like, oh fudge, I wish I had 2 more weeks, but I don't. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting.
it's exciting. It's fun.
How about you, Richie? Do you feel comfort in the chaos, or are you?
I learned it. Well, usually when there's chaos, it means, hey, Rich, go out and do a tap dance while we fix the chaos. So I
Hmm.
was usually busy working during the chaos. You know what I mean? Like, that was the big thing was if something went wrong. I'll tell you a funny story. Something went wrong with a graphic. We had William Shatner was on the show, and they were using a computer graphic and it wouldn't show up on the screen. They were having problems with it. And the night before, Shatner had hosted Gotham's show.
Gotham Live?
Yeah, the Gotham Live show on Access TV. And so Oz had been
I like
talking.
that you forgot that title.
I was only on it. So, so Oz had been talking to Shatner about that beforehand. So we're waiting for the graphic, and Oz says to Shatner, "What jokes did you do last night at Gotham?" And Shatner tells like a street joke, like just two guys walk into a bar, and he does the joke, and the audience laughs, and Oz can't be outdone, so he has to tell a joke now. And ironically, it was a joke I gave him years earlier. So he tells a joke and the audience laughs. So Oz looks at me. So now I have to tell a joke. So then we go back to Shatner. We go back to Oz. They both tell jokes again. And when they get back to me, I go, when I woke up this morning, if you told me I'd be telling jokes with Captain Kirk and Dr. Oz, I would have told you were crazy. So that was kind of cool. Shatner was funny when we went to commercial. I said, how about a big hand for William Shatner? And the audience goes, yay. And when they quieted down, Shatner goes, I think he said a big hand.
Oh my God. All right. Speaking of jokes, first I'm going to ask Ashley, have you heard any good jokes recently? Any good street jokes or any comedian that just hit you with something that you went, whoa?
Oh, my favorite, shorter jokes. I've told you this before. It's Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr says, if we're all God's children, what makes Jesus so special? I think about it all the time. It makes me laugh every single time.
That's great.
That's really good.
Tess, have you heard a good joke recently? Or another sub question, what's your favorite joke that stuck with you through the tapings?
Oh man, that's a hard question because like it's funny because I feel like there've been so many patterns that like come across. Like people are telling a joke, but like it's the same joke but in a different way. I feel that like it all like my brain is like on fire and it can't focus that I need to think about that one.
Oh, that's
So I
interesting.
apologize. But
But
yeah, like um a lot of like a lot of stepdad jokes I feel like pop up pretty regularly and they're usually pretty funny. Like I like and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool because that person made that joke 2 weeks ago. I want to see what this person does um with it." But oh man. Um actually I can't remember her name. Her first name's Carmen, but she
Lynch?
um yes, Carmen Lynch. I
oh,
loved
she's wonderful.
She's
she's
great.
amazing. She's great. Um her I often go back to like just the energy and a lot of her jokes and I can't remember any of them right now, but I the one that they posted on Instagram on Drybar's Instagram about like not having to please her. She's like, I don't have to worry about like my boyfriend's expectations because he's 40 now and we've all kind of given up. And I thought that was really funny. Like just like
It is.
she's
Yeah.
like it's easier now. Like it's fine.
She's
We're
great.
good.
That's a great
Yeah,
joke.
she was so funny. She was so funny.
I
So
did a
look at yeah, she's
I did a
great.
USO tour with her. She was
Oh,
so
awesome.
much fun. And the great thing about doing a USO tour with her was nobody knew I was on the show. They didn't care. They could care less about me. It was when we
It's
went
kind of like
anywhere, I'm
this
like,
podcast.
can I have a room too? Can I get a hotel room or just her? Just I'll wait in the lobby. All right, that's cool.
And she
Like, oh
does
wait.
her act in 2 different languages, which is kind of
Oh
cool.
wow.
She has a whole
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, should I try a Spanish joke?" I was like, "Yeah, try it." There's some folks who do speak Spanish here, but I
yeah.
feel like sometimes the audience are too reserved to laugh. And I was like, "Ah, shoot, we didn't prime her enough. Like, we didn't get the right crowd for her to like actually soar with her Spanish jokes." Because yeah, she did tone at the end that was also funny. But yeah, Carmen, she's great. She's great.
I love it. We're hitting the 55-minute
Yeah.
mark, so we should probably wrap her up.
We should.
Um,
But this was
so
great. This was
this
different.
was so much fun.
Yeah.
I love it. And Ashley, I'm so happy you joined us. This
Thanks
is
for
a lot
having
of fun. And I guess we'll go around the horn and plug what we're up to and anything with the socials. You want to start off, Tess?
Sure, yeah. My socials are pretty tame, nothing too crazy, but it's just at Tess K Kelly on Instagram. Um, my friend has told me that he likes my niche comedy on my Instagram stories, so take that for what it may mean to you. Um, but yeah, right now just the Drybar comedy specials are coming out, and check them out.
Cool.
Check out Mark's special.
Yes.
It's awesome,
Yeah.
and Carmen Lynch's and everyone else's. They all deserve
And
to be there.
the 30 other ones you directed?
Yeah,
Check
oh my
those out.
gosh. Yeah. I should just sometimes I go on there and I search my name Tess Kelly just to see what I have done because I honestly I forget all the time. But there are a lot of good ones and I need to go back and watch them because they were fun. They're really great. So yeah.
Ashley?
I'm coming out with a new Vitamix, so if you could check that out, it's just going to be launching just before Christmas, so that we can really hit those sales. No, I am everywhere. You can't even like. I put too much content out. It's Ashley Gutermuth at Ash Gutermuth. Type in short, weird lady comedian. Looks like she doesn't have a husband, but she does. Like just type any of that in. You'll find me.
Just type in TikTok. You'll find Ashley.
That I am TikTok. I'm all of it.
Richie?
Type in TikTok. You won't find me anywhere.
We got a really cool show coming up.
We do. But unfortunately, it'll have been done already by the time this airs, but you could still talk about it.
Well, it went really awesome.
Great.
And,
It went great, right, Ashley? We had
good.
we're going to be in Woodstock, the three of us.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Woodstock, December 22nd. We're gonna have we have a couple of possible drop-ins. We're gonna do some stand-up, a little panel games. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm super excited for it. And if this does come out before December 22nd, come out and see the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's at the legendary Birdcliff Theater, which to give you a little background, Birdcliff was In the 1800s, it was an artist colony. The guy tried to start a commune for artists where they could all live in their own cabins and work on their art all winter, and then in the summer sell it to the people traveling through. So I think that it kind of has a
That's
cool,
rad.
yeah, it's a neat
That's super
little
cool.
history. It was
I
Woodstock
love
before
that.
Woodstock, man.
And now we're telling dick jokes.
Yeah, now we'll be telling dick jokes at the Burncliffe Theater. So we're keeping it classy in Woodstock. But folks, that was drinks, jokes, and storytelling.